doing good. So just looking forward to continuing on and developing some young guys at some key positions and guys that have to play in the first game, and just kind of do whatever we need to do to keep rolling. No questions? See, that's what happens when we meet all the time.
Mike, talk a little bit about Ty Staley and kind of his role this year, and he's had a great comeback story, and just talk a little about what you expect from him this year.
Well, the same that he gave us last year. Kai was reliable, and we used him in certain situations. How he benefits our team and our offense, and then also to save him. We can't really extend him with his injury, but he brings a lot to our football team from a leader standpoint. And the players like being around him, and he likes being out there. And I know that the guys look up to him for what he's been able to accomplish after having a very, very difficult recovery from a knee injury.
Are you eager to see how good your defense is? You talked about it being better, you think, than it had been previously. Are you eager to see just how good they are, and are you eager for them maybe to get a little credit that they haven't gotten previously?
Yeah, I think, I'm excited about everything, but our defense is more athletic and faster than we ever have been here, which, in my opinion, should result in more plays and better production overall. So I'm looking forward to the linebackers, the second-level guys, staying fresh and not having to play 65 or 70 plays a game, so we can run sideline to sideline and make some plays. I think we've made some strides on our defensive line, and I'm just looking forward to those guys getting out there, just like I am some of the other guys on the offensive side of the ball.
Do they carry like a chip on their shoulder when they see stuff like, well, Oklahoma State's offense can get over a freshman quarterback? I don't know if it's preseason magazines or whatever, but there's still doubts about the defense because of its overall ranking last year, despite all the turnovers.
I'm not sure. You would have to ask those guys. If they do, it could only benefit them, I would think. But you would have to ask them. I thought they were better last year than what people gave them credit for. But either way, we've got more depth and we're more athletic, and so they just need to continue to work hard and make sure that they stick together. And if we can keep the trend going on forcing as many turnovers as we have, it'll certainly give us a chance to win a lot of football games.
Is Charlie Moore, one-hit wonder, or is he a guy who can sustain some of the things he did in the spring?
Well, he's done well the last couple of days, and he had a good spring, and obviously had a big spring game. Charlie's a guy that's was just on the edge of kind of breaking out over the last year or so, but he'd tweak a hamstring or an ankle, and it would kind of set him back for a few weeks. And so I think he's in really good shape, and he's stronger than he ever has been, and if he stays healthy, he should be productive.
Alex Elkins, how much early on was he just playing on instincts last year, and was there a point in the season where maybe the light went on for him, just as far as knowing what to do out there?
Oh, quite a bit was instincts. He would run really fast to the ball, and he likes to play the game, so he could overcome a lot of mistakes. And I'd say the last 4 or 5 games he started getting lined up the majority of the time where he's supposed to, and understanding reads and certain things that guys at that position have to see in order to play effectively.
What do you expect out of him this year?
Excuse me?
What do you expect out of him this year?
Well, he should be a completely different player. Once you've played 1 year at this level, your next year should be considerably better at all positions, because you've learned the speed of the game and you kind of get used to what it takes to prepare and perform and play when you're sore and play when you're hurt and fatigue and in front of loud crowds and just all those different things that affect a college football player. And so he looks more comfortable at practice than he has, and I'm sure that's because of repetitions.
Coach, you've had time to think about it. I don't know if you bothered to think about it, but
the 19th ranking in the coaches poll. Do you think that's fair? I mean, in your mind, is that fair for your team? And I notice, again, you're not on the board of coaches voting. Did you get asked? Do you care? Does it matter whether you get a vote?
The coaches poll, I don't think they asked me, because when they ask me, I always do it. I think it's important to do it and then try to do the best we can. You know, a lot of preseason rankings are based on experience at key positions, one being the quarterback spot. Unless you just have a team that just slams the door on everybody on defense, then those guys can kind of grab a high preseason ranking. But I saw it the other day before our team meeting a couple nights ago. It was going across the bottom of the TV, and so I mentioned it to the team, and I told them that I saw where they were preseason 19, and somebody thinks that there's 18 teams better than them. So they got a lot of work ahead of them.
Coach, talk about the advantages of having your starting linebackers returning and what role you expect them to play on your defense this year.
Well, experience is very important at any position, and the way the game's changed over the last few years at the linebacker spot, those guys have to be intelligent, in our opinion, to be effective, because of all the different looks that defense or offenses present. Those linebackers, you know, they don't just stand between the tackles anymore and run in a gap and hit somebody. They got empty backfields, guys motion across, fly sweeps, fake fly sweeps, passes down the middle, and so having experience at those positions is very important. And you know, as I'd mentioned in the summer, and then over the last few days, that you know, I'm excited about seeing guys that have some experience and having some depth, and let those guys play.
Do you expect them to take a leadership role in the defense this year?
Yes. Yeah, we expect all of our players to assume that responsibility, and Caleb Levy and Alex and Sean, those guys that have played quite a bit, certainly should lead the charge.
You've had two practices, kind of watched Wes, and we saw him in the hallway. Looks like a completely different person. I mean, what have you thought?
I think he's matured. He's bigger. You know, he's 20 pounds heavier, and so that's going to give him some advantage in throwing the football. But he's carrying himself a little different now. He's got a long ways to go, but he's making progress. And you know, there's certain throws that in the last couple of days that he's made that I noticed in the spring. You know, on a scale of 1 to 10, they were about a 5, and that same throw now is about a 7. And so he's getting a feel for the speed and the difference between high school and college of getting the ball in there quicker, because the defensive guys are so much faster, and then also making the adjustment to the speed of our receivers.
If you had to pinpoint, obviously you and your coaches believe in him, or else you wouldn't have named him the starter, but if you had to pinpoint one thing, since fans have maybe only seen him in the spring game, to say, hey, you should get behind this guy, he's going to be able to get the job done, what would you say?
Well, we opened it up for 3 guys, and he was the best one at the end of spring ball. That's the reason we named him starter. But he showed some signs of having some natural ability to, or would perform at times in scrimmages, things that you can't coach. And you know, you really never know how a young man's gonna play when the lights come on. But in our opinion, we feel like that he's the guy that gives us the best chance to move the ball and score points and win football games.
There's a myriad of things that can happen when you name a guy a quarterback, and not just to the guy you name. Have you seen anything in the other 2 guys, J.W. Walsh and Clint, coming back, that maybe they took the summer very seriously, maybe they doubled down and tried to improve over the summer?
Yeah, I don't have any doubt about those guys. They've got really good work habits, and they've been raised the right way, and so they understand work ethic and commitment, and that's a hard pill to swallow for a young man. And I've watched them some, and they've improved. JW has made some throws and done some things in the first couple days better than what he did at the end of spring. We don't see anything they do in summer, but I would only guess that they've worked very hard. I know from a conditioning and strength standpoint they have, because we're able to be in there, and the coaches are in there with them, making sure everything's okay, and so they know who's been working hard, and those guys certainly have.
Is it clear cut for the backups to quarterback? I mean, one snap away, or is that still an ongoing battle between JW and Clint?
No, JW is our backup.
All right, and so you're moving forward with as still developing JW as potentially, say, worst case scenario, something happens to the line. Without question, even though Shelf has more experience, that's the guy.
As of now, yes.
Has there been any more talk on getting Walsh on the field? You talked about it a little bit in Big 12, but now that you're in practice.
Yes, our coaches have talked about different things that he brings to the table, and so you would have to ask Todd, but from what I understand, he runs our system, and then he has a certain set of plays that we think he's more effective at than maybe Wes. And if he were to get in the game, we would still run our offense, but we would lean towards those plays.
We've seen a couple other schools in your conference kind of do that. Well, not really a couple. I think OU allegedly borrowed it from K-State and some of the stuff you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a little different. Those guys are, I think the kid at Kansas State's about 240 or something, and I don't know what the kid at OU weighs. But they're a little different than him. Some similarities in the thought process, but we don't really see him as that kind of guy. That the guy from Kansas State, he runs it up in there and gets smashed, just keeps going. We're not sure that JW has the body for that kind of punishment.
So you like him strictly a quarterback, like a Ryan Tannehill. There's a lot of speculation of maybe putting him in receiver a little bit just to get him on the field somehow. You like him strictly 100%?
We haven't explored those options because, as he mentioned earlier, if something happens, he's got to go in and play quarterback, and it's difficult to. Well, it's hard enough to learn how to play quarterback this level, much less learn another position right now.
Mike, congratulations on being the National Coach of the Year. It was a well-deserved honor.
Thank you.
Most outstanding year in OSU football history. What has that meant to the football program, and how has that changed just the culture around here and the recruiting opportunities, and how has it changed this football program?
Oh, I think that we're in more doors and more homes of players who have good grades and good character and are potentially gifted on the football field than we ever have been before. We've seen interest grow outside of what would be our normal normal area of geography that we recruit. A little further east, a little further west, and then we've been able to get the interest from them and for them to drive to our campus, because recruiting now is based on unofficial visits. Most of the official visits that take place in the fall are from players who are already committed to your school, and so you have to have something to initiate them to come to your campus and for free. And we've seen a lot of that. I think because of the number of games that we've won with this team, the guys here have won so many games that they understand the importance of preparation and all the things that we have to do to continue to win here. A lot of success in college football, in our opinion, depends on avoiding distractions. Anything from players and teams that can create distractions set you back from a team chemistry standpoint. And for the most part, our players have done pretty well. last year they did a great job avoiding distractions. And we had some good players, but you see the results. And so I think they understand the mental aspect of all the things that I just mentioned and avoiding distractions, and that comes with the success that we've had.
Losing 3 offensive linemen with Bowie out this week seemed, for most teams, would appear to be a big concern, but with Joe Wickline's pedigree of just always plugging in guys ready to go, seemed to having success riding the bat, even though with little game experience, do you feel as if that, do you see that position as kind of, you kind of feel like he's going to have someone ready for you guys going into the season, or how's your perception on that?
We think that way, and I said this the other day. Losing Bowie affects our team, but it's happened to us before. We've lost good players before. You can go Kendall and Dez and Ori Lemon. It's kind of goes on, and we've replaced them with somebody that it became their turn to make plays. So the experience that Bowie brought to the table, much less his athleticism, affected us when we lost him. But we expect Coach Wickline and any other coach that has to replace a player to have a guy ready to put in there, and then that guy's got to play. And that's just the way football is. It's guys get hurt and dinged up, somebody else has to go play, and then we have an unfortunate situation like we have with Bowie, and we expect somebody else to go in there and play.
Sort of along the same lines, it was announced today that Mike Mustafa left the team. Can you just address that and speak with that?
Yeah, Mike had personal reasons for not coming back, family issues, and he decided that he wants to be back closer to home, and so he's going to try to find somewhere to go to school around the Houston area, from what I understand, probably starting in January.
We talked a lot about the depth at defensive tackle, though, so is this kind of losing him? I know it was a third string, but kind of something you can't absorb because you have that depth there.
Yeah, as much for practice purposes as anything, and that's why you like to have the depth. But we lose players out of our organization for team violations or personal reasons, and there's 130 of them on our team, and so whether we'd like to think so or not, there's always going to be guys that things happen. But if a guy like Mike is not fully committed mentally to being here, and he had some doubts based on a personal situation, then in my opinion, he's better off not being here. And so you asked the question about how does it affect our depth. It affects it some because even though he was down the line and young, it's one less big guy to practice against and prepare for our games. But we still believe you have to go back to, you got to be all in to be here, because it's tough to be a college football player if you're not all in.
Coach, you put Evan Epstein on scholarship last week. What has he shown you and Coach Wickline later in that spot?
Well, he's worked hard. He's been with us for a while, and he's always been there, been on time, and paid his own way, and showed up. And he's done some of the things that I just talked about for free. And I've always had a lot of admiration for guys that are willing to do all that for free. And when we get an opportunity to reward a young man that's worked extremely hard and put himself in a position to have success, we do it. We've got a few other walk-ons that we're going to put on scholarship here probably within the next week, so we can take care of those guys. And then at that time, I'll release their names. But he's become the first-team center, and so he certainly deserves an opportunity to be on aid.
Does it help having a senior center with a true freshman coming, even though he hasn't been in the starting rotation? He knows the drill. He's been in this program. To have him working with Wes, is that a benefit?
Yes, yeah, and it really just kind of what you said. He's not played a lot, but he knows what's going on. He's practiced with us forever, and we try as hard as we can to simulate game situations in practice. And he's been there for a number of years, and that should help him in a game situation.
On of the decisions that fall under the head coaching umbrella, deciding when the suspended players eligible to play again, making that decision when you're going to play them again, how difficult is
Suspended players?
it? Yeah. It's more of a general.
You know, John, we don't do that much here. If you look at what we do, I'm not really comfortable with that to a certain extent. Now, we've had guys over the years that may have missed a curfew on Thursday night. We didn't play them in the next game. I don't know if we've ever suspended a guy for games. So we don't do a lot of that. It just, we're just, in our opinion, you're either all in and playing or you're not. So I can't really comment on suspensions because we haven't done very many. Have we suspended anybody? We don't really do that. So, you either are here and playing or you're not.
You talked in the spring very highly of Calvin Barnett and just how he was able to develop quickly. When did you know that he was the real deal? That would help you guys right?
Well, I hope he's the real deal. We're always hesitant to comment on a player until he's actually gone out there and has performed. And I said the other day, he's showing signs that he can be a good player at this level. Just keep working hard, stay healthy, stay tough mentally. The one area that he's been good at for us is when he gets out there in an 11-on-11 setting. Sometimes he may not be lined up exactly where he's supposed to, but when the ball's snapped, he goes and he attacks and he gets up the field and he plays hard and he tries to get the guy with the ball, and that's kind of the key. And so that has given me an indication that he's got a chance to be a good player at this level.
Just like you talk about a few guys that may need another place to go, like Mustafa will look for a school in the Houston area. You end up with a guy like John Goodland, who's here in the spring, transferred from Indiana State. He seemed to look like he could come maybe help out in the spring. I don't know what he's looked like so far in practice.
Yeah, he's rotating in with that group of 6 or 7 wideouts or 8. We're playing so many freshmen at the wideout spot right now. There are probably at least 8 of them out there that roll in with the 1s and 2s. And he's in that group, and he's getting better. He's got some quickness, and his work habits are good, and he's shown signs of willing to block. So hopefully he'll give us another guy that we can use in a first team situation to give a guy a breather.
Not that you're going to change your offensive approach, but how comforting is it to know you've got a set of running backs like you've got to go along with the freshman quarterback?
Well, it makes a huge difference because teams we play are going to try to blitz Wes like crazy and force him into making mistakes. Just youth. You guys have covered college football long enough, and you've seen freshman quarterbacks, and just about any school, no matter how good they were, when you had a freshman quarterback, everybody tried to make his day miserable. And if you don't have running backs, you can really make it miserable. But we've been fortunate with the guys that we have not only been effective running the ball, but they're pretty good blockers. So they can pick up blocks and things and free a guy up that maybe has man coverage with no safety help over the top. And I think they understand that. They realize that they have to be a big factor in our offense and bring Wes along. I mean, nobody in here, maybe you guys do, I don't, but nobody knows how fast he'll come along. We have a pretty good indication of where he should be and how he should improve and progress each week. But he'll certainly benefit from having 2 experienced guys back there with him.
Usually you have familiarity with conference opponents, so during week of game preps, you probably could figure out some certain tendencies at least. But with 2 new conference opponents coming in during those lull of the summer months, did you guys spend a little more time studying TCU and West Virginia? So when you got to those games week, you'll be a little more familiar with them.
Yeah, we know West Virginia's tendencies. And the thing with them, and I'm not being sarcastic toward you, but they're running the same plays that they've always run. So we're pretty familiar with them. But TCU is a team that we had to look into. And, we see them play on TV a lot, just like you guys did. They played a lot of those week games, Thursday night games and certain things. Seemed like I always saw them playing then Friday night game. But, they really are doing the same thing on both sides of the ball that they've always done with their defense, and then offensively they do a lot and no huddle and do a little option and some pass and things like that. And the quarterback they have, from what I remember, I think he's a sophomore now. Is that right?
Junior.
He's a junior? Yeah, he's a pretty good player. I was impressed when I saw him play last year.
Coach, what's in your hand?
It's somebody gave me a United States Marshal pen, and I had it in my pocket. It was kind of bothering me, so I just pulled it out. Take it home, give it to one of my kids. So.
You got the authority to arrest people now?
Well, I'm not sure. I don't know. It's pretty heavy, and it's got the eagle on it, so I'm not sure how much authority it gives me. But it's a pretty nice pen.
With Tracy moving inside to outside, is it kind of his time, you think?
Well, either way, it should be, because he's experienced, and I know I go back to this a lot, but he's played in big games and made big catches at home and on the road, and so he's a guy in crucial situation that's got to make a play for us.
There's been a lot of talk about him and Josh Stewart this coming out of spring. What have you seen out of Josh?
Josh had a good spring, not a great spring. I didn't feel like he was in really good shape in the spring. But he had a good summer conditioning is what they say. And he has skill and enough quick twitch in him to make a lot of plays. And I'm hoping that he'll fall into that second-year guy where he's kind of gone through all that, and now he's up and, kind of a veteran guy and should make some plays for us.
After the Tech game last year, after he exploded, it seems like you said that you were happy for him, but you said he still needs to work on the off-the-field issues and really get his head right. Do you still see that from him?
Yeah, not necessarily off the field socially, but just pushing himself in the weight room. And he does everything, but sometimes he's doing it just to mark it off a list instead of doing it to get better. And there's a huge difference in that. And that's what I mentioned earlier. He was better this summer, they said. He's got a lot of skill, a lot of ability. And the development of a young player is different with each one of them. And he's only been here, this is just his second year. So he's got plenty of time to develop, and hopefully it'll be this fall.
Coach, Justin Gilbert is a guy who has an interesting background. He was an offensive player at Huntsville in high school. You guys bring him in, put him on the defensive side, special teams. And when you add up his worth to a team and how far he's come, it's pretty high, isn't it?
It is. He's a dangerous returner, and he's developed and has matured where he'll tackle at the corner spot, and he's got size and range and speed, and he's got good ball skills, and so his frame of mind, his mental approach has been really good the last 6 months. His attitude's good, his work habits. It seems like football's become really, really important to him. And so I would expect for him to play very well and have a good season.
When a guy wins an MVP in a ball game like that, he's up on the stage, I guess it can either go to your head or it can maybe, it sounds like it's turned the light on for him to press the envelope a little bit.
That's what he's shown. And what you're saying is right. It can go either way, but in the off season he showed a sense of urgency to really kind of take off and be a leader and improve, and he's done really well over the last 6 months.
Seems like the new kickoff rules impact you guys as much as anybody, because do you have kicking off and do you have potentially returning?
Mm-hmm.
How do you approach that?
There's been a lot of talk about whether to take advantage of the strength in his leg and kick it really high, or just go ahead and kick it out and be done with it. And we will let him have a lot of input in what we do there, because that's easier said than done. You know, it's like trying to pull out a wedge, and you think you're going to flop it up there and make it stop in a certain spot, and when you hit it, it goes off over there to the right, and you don't know how that happened. Well, when you're kicking off, some guys have a really great feel for that pop kick, and some guys doesn't come as easy. And he's worked on it here forever. But you know, you think about the flip side, even though they bring the ball out to the 25, he just drives it into the stands. You never have to worry about it getting run back. So you hopefully eliminate that huge momentum swing.
You put Gilbert at the back end line and tell him, bring it out if you want. Or
2 deep,
Yeah.
3 deep. Get him back there and let him go. Because he's such a threat. You just have to make one mistake, and if he hits a seam, it's going to be hard to catch him.
So he gets a little bit of a green light.
Yeah, we'll let him go. Yeah.
Mike, you were talking earlier kind of about that next man up philosophy, whether it's a guy being suspended or injury or whatever, but that's also the case when you have to replace people that have, you know, graduated and moved on. Is that what a successful program has to do, to kind of have that feel of, okay, hey, it's your turn and you gotta produce?
Yeah, sometimes sooner than anticipated. You know, we went through that 3 or 4 years ago, and we really weren't ready for it. You know, I've mentioned trying to recruit enough depth and speed so the departure of 1 or 2 players for whatever reason doesn't just set us back. And that's really what we've tried to do. And so the answer would be yes.
Is that something you have to kind of tell the guys that come in, it's like, okay, this is how we do it, the guys are ahead of you, you're going to see how they do it, and you know, sometimes it's going to be your turn, you're not just here filling the spot.
We really talk to our team about the veteran guys, the guys that have been here, they're juniors or seniors, coaching our younger players. And what happens is if they take that responsibility, 1, it helps your team your team chemistry, and then 2, it keeps the coaches from having to coach them all the time. They can coach them, and then the coaches can get them on the big things. But the little things that are really important, those veteran guys should be coaching those new guys.
Coach, describe the mindset you want your team to have starting the season.
Oh, I think the same that we've had the last few years here. We take a lot of pride in preparation and putting ourselves in position to win on Saturday if we take care of the ball and force turnovers. And in order to reduce the pressure that these guys play under, we ask them to prepare well. You know, they got 4 weeks here really, or 3 weeks before school starts, that they only have football to think about. And then put themselves in position on Saturday if they play hard. Okay, and if they don't play hard with effort, then that's our fault. And we obviously haven't coached them right, or we got them so tired they can't play hard. And then they have a chance to win on Saturday, and that's all we can ask for them. We can't get any more out of them than that.
Coach, I gotta imagine this is probably the friendliest fan day you've ever had for winning the Big 12 championship.
We had a great fan day, but the Oklahoma State people, they're the same always. And you know, people always talk about the 30,000 strong that have been here for years and years, and it's grown to 50, whatever it is now. How many season tickets we sold, you know?
We're about 2,500 here. Last year we sold 48.
Okay, so 50-something, whatever it's going to be. They've always been awesome. And that's, you know, I've always made that comment that the Oklahoma State people have been loyal, but today's fan day was a lot of fun.
Mike, I know it is what it is as far as the heat's concerned, but are you concerned that if it stays as hot as it is, that you're going to have your team where you want them to be by the start of the season?
That, I'm concerned about my trees and my grass at the house. But yes, we will. We'll make sure that they're ready to go. We may not be able to practice as long, and that doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't concern me one bit. And I mentioned to the team, and I may have already said this to you guys, we meet so much now that I can't always remember, but the first night I met with them, I said, look, it's hot, and you can look on the 14 day and it's 106 to 111, and that's never going to change. So you don't need to come down the hall every day and tell me how hot it is. I know how hot it is. And what we're going to do is be out there early in the morning, and if it's the humidity's different, it's just really bad, then we'll cut it back. And because they only have so much in them, just because they're in great shape doesn't mean that if it's 110 heat index that they can go out there and practice for 3 hours. So we'll trim it down. We'll keep them healthy and fresh, and they'll be ready to go at the first game.
Coach, we're coming up on the 5-year anniversary of your famous post-game "I'm a Man" rant. When you look at that and the numbers since then, you guys have won a lot more games. Do you feel like in some ways that was a turning point in your tenure here?
Oh, I'm not sure if it was a turning point. 5 years, that's been a long time. I think that we were a better football team. We started recruiting better players after that, which makes a big difference. Players win games. Coaches just kind of have to guide them a little bit in the right direction. But it has certainly benefited us in recruiting over the last few years. Now, the last couple years we've done so well that I'm not so sure that we really needed it, because we won a lot of games and we're on national TV a lot. But for a couple of years, it really helped us in recruiting.
Going back to Tracy Moore, you've said that obviously you don't expect someone to replace Justin's production straight up, but do you want Tracy Moore to go into the season thinking, I'm going to be the #1 guy, I'm going to go to receiver first team?
He should. And Isaiah's got a lot of experience and has gotten better each year. But those veteran guys have to feel that way. And the point I was trying to make with Tracy is it's unrealistic to think that somebody can all of a sudden match numbers of a guy that's a 2-time Blitnikoff winner and is a first-round pick. He may do that. I'm all for him. But I don't want that pressure on him to feel that way. But we have a lot of confidence in Tracy. And Tracy didn't have a great bowl game experience. His practice wasn't very well. He didn't practice very well, so we didn't play him. And it's a very difficult lesson to learn. But when he came back, he handled it the right way, and he's done very well. And he's worked hard, and his attitude's been good. And if he continues to work that way, which he has, then he'll make plays for us.
You mentioned Isaiah. He's a guy who's not going to get a ton of hype, but last year turned into his best numbers. This year he's a senior. What do you see as his role in the offense?
He brings speed to the table, and he's done a nice job of running by people and catching the ball over the top, and he's catching outcuts and curl routes outside the hash mark, and that's really his role. That's what he does. Because he's got such great speed, guys have to get off him or he can run right by him.